Don't be afraid. I've got you. We'll take it slow. The woman standing at the edge of the crosswalk turned her face slightly toward the voice, not to see, because she couldn't see, but the way people turn toward warmth without thinking. Her name was Celestine Harrow. She was 61 years old, and she had been standing at the corner of 5th and Alderman for nearly 4 minutes while the city moved around her in its loud, indifferent rush, and not one person had stopped. Her white cane had found the curb. Her ears had tracked the signal, but the construction detour had shifted the pedestrian crossing 15 feet south, and she had stood there in that particular stillness of someone who knows they are momentarily lost and is trying not to show it. Then a hand appeared at her elbow, not grabbing, not pulling, just present, steady, offering. His name was Desmond Farley. He was 33 years old, a structural engineer who had been laid off 11 weeks ago when his firm downsized without ceremony or apology. He was walking to a job interview that morning, his 4th in 2 months, wearing his best jacket and carrying a quiet, practiced hope that was getting harder to maintain. He had 7 minutes to spare. He used 4 of them on Celestine. He walked her across slowly, matching her pace entirely, narrating the curb drop and the uneven patch of asphalt and the point where the new crossing ended, the way someone does when they understand that information is dignity. When they reached the other side, he didn't rush away. He waited until she confirmed her bearings, until she said the name of the street she needed, and he pointed her cane in the right direction. "Thank you," she said, and there was something layered in those 2 words, relief and gratitude, and the particular emotion of being treated as a full person by a stranger. "You didn't have to stop." "I know," Desmond said simply, and then he was gone, walking quickly now, already recalculating his route. He didn't notice the man watching from the black car parked just north of the intersection. He didn't notice much of anything except the interview he needed to not be late for. The man in the car was Reginald Harrow, 65 years old. He had built Harrow Infrastructure Group across 30 years of deliberate, principled work, and it was now one of the most respected mid-size civil engineering firms in the region. He had pulled over to answer a call when he'd seen his wife standing uncertain at the corner. He had been just about to get out of the car. He didn't need to. He watched instead. He watched the young man appear from nowhere, offer his arm without hesitation, speak to Celestine with a patience that looked entirely natural, and walk her across with the unhurried care of someone who had all the time in the world, even though, Reginald would later notice, the man had broken into a near jog the moment they parted. He didn't follow Desmond that morning, but he told his daughter Josephine about what he'd seen that evening at dinner. Josephine Harrow was 25 years old and served as her father's Director of Talent Acquisition, a role she'd earned through genuine competence and the refusal to coast on her last name. She was the one who found Desmond. It took her 2 days. The corner had a business association camera. The timestamp narrowed it. A construction permit application in the area had a site supervisor named Desmond Farley listed as structural engineer of record, a project completed 18 months ago. LinkedIn confirmed the rest. Recently unemployed, exceptional professional record, references that used words like integrity and meticulous, and the kind of person you build a team around. She called him on a Wednesday afternoon. He almost didn't answer. Unknown numbers during a job search carried a specific anxiety. But he answered, and Josephine introduced herself and said she'd like to arrange a conversation with her father, who ran Harrow Infrastructure. Desmond sat down on the edge of his kitchen table. He knew Harrow Infrastructure. Everyone in structural engineering knew Harrow Infrastructure. "Can I ask how you found me?" he said carefully. There was a small pause on Josephine's end. "My father saw you help someone last week on 5th and Alderman. He'd like to meet you." Desmond was quiet for a moment, genuinely confused. He barely remembered it. He'd been focused on his interview. "I just helped someone cross the street." "I know," Josephine said. "That's exactly why he wants to meet you." He met Reginald Harrow at the firm's office the following Friday. It was not a formal interview, no panel, no technical exam, no performance. It was two men sitting across from each other with coffee, talking about work and craft and what it meant to build things that lasted. Reginald asked about Desmond's layoff without delicacy or pity, the way honest people ask hard things. Desmond answered with the same directness. What Desmond didn't know, what Reginald told him quietly near the end of their conversation, was that Celestine had lost her sight gradually over 5 years, and that in the early months she had been reluctant to move through the city alone, afraid of exactly the kind of moment Desmond had stepped into without hesitation. Reginald had spent those years gently encouraging her independence, knowing she needed it for herself, knowing the city could be cruel. I've watched 100 people walk past her, not because they were bad people, just because they were busy. You weren't busy. Desmond shook his head. I was late.
Reginald looked at him. I know. That's the part that matters. Desmond joined Harrow Infrastructure 3 weeks later as a senior structural engineer. It was the right role, the right fit, the right culture. A place built by someone who understood that how you treat people is the foundation of everything else. On his 3rd week, he passed Celestine in the building lobby. She came in Fridays to have lunch with Reginald. He introduced himself. She listened to his voice for a moment, and then her face opened with a recognition that has nothing to do with sight. "Fifth and Alderman," she said softly. "Yes," he said. She reached out and found his hand and held it briefly. "I told Reginald about you before he ever saw you," she said. "I told him a young man had spoken to me like I was worth his time. I told him I hoped the world was good to that man." Desmond felt something move through him that he didn't have a word for. It was, he managed. It really was. Kindness witnessed by the right eyes at the right moment can open doors you didn't know existed. But that's not why you offer your arm to a stranger at a corner. You do it because she is standing there, and you have 2 hands, and 4 minutes, and a simple understanding that some things matter more than being on time. Do the right thing when no one is watching. Someone always is. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.